is going on, everybody? I know I am live a little bit later, or maybe it's earlier than I usually am. Yeah, it's definitely earlier than I usually am. Welcome. Let's get some our life in. Let's put this over here in the corner. And let's get super playing. I'm super excited. I didn't get a chance to play this game for like yesterday, but I'm here now to play it. We've got two more to go. I want to get the DLCs, but bitch, we don't got no DLC money. So we're just gonna stick with the freebies. Yes, we are. Alright, let's go to dinner. Sunlight shone through the windows as you sat in your living room, your home phone pressed to your ear. Ooh, we're already talking to our little boyfriend on the phone. Okay, I like this. I love this. Cove was on the other end. It'd been shaping up to be an ordinary day like any other until Cove had called unexpectedly. He sounded unusually nervous greeting you. You listened silently as he was talking, his words stilted. So, I was just wondering, do you want to come over to my house for dinner? Oh my, we've got a dinner invitation. The question came out strangely, almost like he rehearsed it a few times. Your eyes widened a little. You hadn't expected this to be the reason behind the call. Ooh. Um, you kept listening. Yeah, I'll go. It was, oh, I should have kept listening. I should have kept listening. Oh no. We're quitting this. We're quitting this because I want to listen. Yes, we're quitting this. I'm doing this over. I'm doing it over. Sorry. Not sorry at all. We're going to get this over. We're going to do this over. We're doing it over. We are doing it over because I fucking can. Continue. Alright. Let's try this again, shall we? Alright, I'm not reading this. Yes, I am. Sunlight shone through the windows as you sat in your living room, your home phone pressed to your ear. Cove was on the other end. He sounded unusually nervous. You listened silently as he kept talking, his words stilted. So I was just wondering, do you want to come over to my house? Almost like he reversed it. Blah, 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 blah. You kept listening. Cove continued. His next words sounded rehearsed too, and tinged with nervousness. My mom and dad, they really want you to be there if your parents don't have a problem with it. They asked me to ask you. Really, Cove? Okay. You took a moment to think. Dinner at home will be quiet and uneventful today. If you really wanted to, you could go to Cove's instead. Cove spoke up again, breaking your thought train. His voice was softer than before. Also, I want you to be there. Oh, Cove, you want me to be there too? Absolutely. Can you come over? I mean, yeah, I can come. Thanks, Chris. I'll let them know when I can. So cute. He sounded noticeably relieved by your response. Was you coming over for a dinner today that serious? He spoke to you for a little while longer to explain what time to come over and other details, then hung up. And that was that. For now, anyway. Soon enough, the sun dipped out of the sky and evening came. What's up, Pax? It was time for you to head to Cove's house. After letting Elizabeth know you were leaving, she didn't look away. Oh, man. I missed that. Well, you knocked a couple times on the heavy door to their condo. As you waited for an answer, you found yourself contemplating being a guest while both of Cove's parents were there. Oh boy. It was exciting. You were apprehensive. The idea made you curious. Yeah, the idea made me curious. You wonder why they decided to invite you out of the blue. Maybe you'll find out later tonight. You didn't get too much time with your thoughts, though. The door opened soon enough. Cove's mom, Kyra, stood in the frame, smiling warmly at you. Come on. Oop, I have to move my face. I gotta move my face. Boop. Wait. Boop. Move you over here. Okay. Hi, y'all, Chris. Welcome. Please come in. Ooh, they got a nice house. Okay, look at that nice house. She opened the door wider and moved to make room. You stepped inside, allowing her to shut it behind you. Hey, pretty lady. Hey, pretty lady. Hey, pretty lady. She's so pretty. I don't trust you, though. I don't trust you. Thanks so much for coming over. I know it was kind of last second. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
I don't trust this bitch. I don't like her. Of course. Just make yourself at home. It's not my home, but I've been giving permission to say that. Yeah, I don't trust this bitch. Oh my God, look at the handsome man. Look at the handsome man. Look at him so handsome. Him so handsome. Okay. Hey, Chris. Welcome to our humble abode. You jerked your head towards the sound of Mr. Holden's voice. He waved at you briefly. What's up, Q? He waved at you briefly from the kitchen with his back turned and a large spoon in his hand. Hope you're hungry because I'm whipping up a lot of tasty stuff. True to his word, you heard something sizzling on the stove. You closed your eyes and inhaled. It smelled spicy and savory. Pegs. You have got to watch. I uploaded the videos to my YouTube. You gotta watch parts 1 through 4. Oh, it's so full of drama. So full of drama. With Mr. Holden busy and Cove nowhere to be seen, it was just you and Kyra. She gave you a wry smile. He sure is. While I've been barred from cooking the entire time, I'm staying here. Can you believe that? She nudged you with an elbow. Mr. Holden scoffed good-naturedly, then spoke from over his shoulder. You're on vacation, Kyra. You need to accept that already. She yelled back, amusement obvious on her face and in her tone. People still cook when they're on vacation. Everyone's gotta eat. Thank you for the likes, Pax. Thank you. It's not like I'm some celebrity who can go out for every meal or hire a private chef.
Sorry.
Well, in this house, you trying to get back with your wife? You trying to get back with your wife? You trying to get back with your wife? Ooh, child. Oh, maybe they just good at co-parenting. I don't know. Kyra smiled and shook her head quietly. Then she turned to face you once more. Sorry about that, Chris. Here I was trying to strike up a conversation with you, and Cliff just had to butt in. I don't butt in. She eyed him, chuckling in disbelief. He wasn't exactly disproving her point with that. Kyra leaned over to whisper to me, "Oh, bitch, you got me having an answer." "Yes, you got an answer, baby. We interactive up in this motherfucker. We interactive." Kyra leaned over to whisper to you, "It's okay. He likes to be included. But since Clifford insisted on cooking all by himself, he'll have to wait. The two of us can chat." "Bitch, I don't want to chat with you. I just want to talk to your son. Okay? Like, ow." Her next question continued to be said in a hushed tone, just to be safe.
So?
"So, how are you doing? Would you like to know, bitch?" "What's up, Lorraine? Things are good. I'm not really sure. You didn't reply to her question." "Oh, I'm good." Diary didn't seem too convinced by your awkward phrasing, but she nodded anyway. She opened her mouth to say something more, but some lightly pounding footsteps caught your attention. "It's my boyfriend!" You checked to see Cove emerge from the hall. A few moments later, he might have heard all the commotion and left his room to see what was going on. "Hey, boyfriend!" He quietly took stock of the situation. His cheeks tinted pink. Ah! His cheeks tinted pink at the sight of you standing in his living room. And his hand came up to rub his arm almost bashfully. "Ooh, Chris, you made it. Thanks for coming." Cove's voice was unnaturally loud, as if he thought you wouldn't be able to hear him from where you were, only a few feet away. Oh, he's excited. "Hi, Cove. You doing okay?" "Yeah, I'm fine." "Why your face changed?" He didn't sound convincing at all. You narrowed your eyes suspiciously, but didn't call him out on it. If you could talk to him alone tonight, maybe you'd ask him what was going on then. It was when you glanced away from Cove that you spotted his parents watching the two of you interact. Cove noticed their stares too, meeting them with narrowed eyes. "Why you staring? Are we having dinner now?" "Not yet, bud. I'm still cooking." Not him saying, "All right, I'm going back to my room." As he turned to leave, he bent his head to the side to face you. "You coming?" "You goddamn right. You goddamn right I'm coming, boyfriend." The question was quiet, but you heard it clearly. You smiled, pleased that he asked, and nodded in the affirmative. Cove turned fully and made his way down the hall. "Okay, time to move my face again. Time to move my face again. Have fun, you two. We'll call you when food's ready to go." "Bye, sweetie. Thank you so much for being here." With that, you followed after Cove. The two of you made your way down the hall. Let's flip my head back over here. Alright. This was the first time you were invited to see Cove's room. You had visited Cove's room before, but only rarely. Going over to Cove's room was a standard occurrence for you nowadays. It's been 5 years. Of course I've been in his room. Yeah. Cove got to the door first, opening it and stepping inside. You joined him. "What's up, Lex?" "Okay, Cove, look at your bedroom. Okay. Okay, you got a little fishy fish. You got a little fishy fish." There was a mat on the floor in front of the door. As you stepped over the threshold into his room, you felt the crunch of sand beneath your feet. The sensation was nothing to you, of course. Cove constantly came back to his room covered in sand, not bothering to clean himself off at the front door, and got it all over his personal space. That's just how he was. A little bit of a mess. You hadn't heard Mr. Holden ever scold him for it, not like your moms would have if you've done it. You can sit wherever you want. Cove took himself a seat at the edge of his large bed, looking like a picture of comfort, and let you decide. "Bitch, we're sitting on the bed. We sitting on the bed." As soon as you sat next to him, Cove grew tense. His back went stiff and he ducked his head away. What the fuck? What's up, D? He tried to hide a trembling smile. Cove, if you don't stand the fuck up. Oh my god. He said it under his breath as if he didn't want you to hear. You obviously did, and easily, since you were right beside him. Um, um, yeah, we were nervous. Okay. You're like an open book. You know that? Aww. R2. Cove scowled before shifting nervously on the bed. He pointedly glanced away from you, the tips of his ears red. Cove! With silence growing, your gaze began to drift. You stared at the bright fish swimming in the tank. There were a bunch of them, floating to and fro in the open space. They stood out starkly against the green aquarium plants. And look if you had those fish.
Yes.
Why wouldn't I know this? Okay, I guess. Wow, that's a long time. You peered carefully into the tank. The fish looked to be doing well. He must take good care of them. Most of them were small, but there was one especially big one. Why wouldn't I know this?
I mean,
I feel like I should know this already. Anyway, I've had a lot of fish and I'm not that good at coming up with names. You found that funny? You found that relatable? Yeah, you found that funny. You found that relatable. Yeah, we found it relatable. What's up, shenanigans? You didn't have any pets, but you always had trouble naming your stuffed animals or whatever else. It was such a hard choice. Oh. A couple of them have other type of names. He pointed to the small orangish red fish. It was minding its own business away from the others. My dad named her Dreamcatcher, and that other one's Mark. Mom came up with that one. Ghost smiled to himself, his eyes reflecting the glow from the tank. You let other people name your fish?
nice.
Yeah, it's nice. He then turned to you, tilting his head to the side. There was a considering look on his face. Do you want to name one? Can I? His smile grew a little at your interest. Sure. There's a few who don't have names right now, the newer ones. You can pick which one you want to name. He pointed at each of the recent acquisitions out to you. The first was the smallest fish in the tank. It was completely orange and zipped all over the place, running laps around the others. What's up, D? The second was slightly bigger and red. Its tail was dotted with black spots, which almost resembled freckles. The last fish was the biggest one. Its multicolored scales rippled under the bright light of the tank as it slowly made its way across the vast expanse. You went with we're gonna do the medium fish. Cove only nodded at your answer, waiting on you to decide a suitable name. You watched the fish closely. As you did, a name eventually came to you. Frank, Sunbeam, Gil, Cove. Type in my own answer. Yeah, we're going to type in our own answer. We're going to go with Zippy. Ha ha ha. Alright, it's Zippy. With that said, his attention moved from you to the tank. He peered fondly at it and its inhabitants. You smiled proudly at Zippy as it swam through the tendrils of the plants, disappearing, then reappearing soon after. You noticed that Cove was sitting closer to you than he was before. He must have scooted over at some point during the conversation. This close, your shoulders were almost brushing against each other. Your heartbeat picked up a little at the realization. You know, I'm not allowed to have pets in my house, not even fish. The corners of Cove's lips turned down at that. That doesn't sound fair. It's not like fish will make a mess of your house or anything. You just gotta take care of their tank and feed them. And they'll be okay. Right? I don't mind it too much. I get it. I don't mind it too much. Yeah, I don't mind it too much. You have to do so much for a pet. It's a lot of work and responsibility. My mom's take it super seriously, and that's why they don't want to just get one. That's true. Your current conversation brought to mind a memory from years ago. You launched into it without any warning, earning you a brief, confused look from Cove. One time, Elizabeth, hey Megan, came back from playing at the beach and just shut herself in the room. She only came down for food, and then she ran back upstairs straight after. It was kind of weird. My mom didn't think much of it at first. But that night, Mom went to her room to say goodnight and started screaming. Mom and I ran over to see what happened. Lizzie had this huge lizard in her arms. Cove's eyebrows rose at that, and he leaned forward in interest.
Really?
A lizard? Where'd that come from? Elizabeth said she saw it half buried in the sand and didn't know what it was. Then she pulled it out and got the answer, so she brought it home. She hid the lizard in her room for most of the day because she wanted to keep it. Mom and Ma were not happy. They worried about putting it out during the night, but she was going to have to let it go in the morning. Lizzie was really upset. She did bring it back to the beach eventually, but she wouldn't talk to anyone for days. When she did get over it, it was almost like it never happens. You laugh thinking back to that time. Elizabeth had always been stubborn, but when she was younger, she forgot grudges quickly. Now it wasn't so easy. Cove had been quiet for most of the story, apart from the reveal of the lizard. He had a thoughtful look on his face. I can't even imagine what it'd be like to have a sibling. You gave serious thought to his statement before you told him. It's a nice idea in general, but my sister's Elizabeth. I don't know how to understand. You're lucky to be an only child. There are ups and downs. It's fun. Yeah, there are ups and downs. It's fun to have her there when she wants to be there, but now Elizabeth barely feels like hanging out with me. Cove pursed his lips at the words, considering them quietly for a while. That's interesting. I think your family is cool. He didn't have much else to say, though while you were on the topic of family, you considered your relationship with your moms too. You got along with your moms. You thought your moms are okay. Yeah, I got along with my moms. You had disagreements with them, but at the end of the day, you loved them and they loved you. That was really what mattered. Well, say what you want about them, but at least your moms never tried to pay someone to be your friend. Yeah, we're going to keep that one to ourselves. The thought prompted you to look over at Cole. He probably still didn't know that happened. You doubted that Mr. Holton mentioned it, and you never had. You wondered if you should tell him. It was a long time ago, but you were keeping a secret from Cole. You didn't tell him. Secrets were meant to be kept. You didn't tell him. You didn't want to have that talk with. Oh my God! You didn't tell him it was a bad time. Yeah, I don't know. What if he got really upset? Just thinking about his possible reaction made you nervous. Time passed, but you really didn't notice. The two of you were busy making plans for the rest of the summer and chatting about irrespective days. Eventually, you heard a muffled holler from the different part of the house. You and Cove raised your heads in unison. It is time for dinner. Cove watched the firmly shut door. He had been locked behind for most of the night, but he didn't make a move to get up from the bed. You couldn't see his face, so you didn't know what the expression he was wearing. Oh, I'm glad you came. Cove peeked back at you from the side. It's been awkward. Yeah. Oh shit, I just realized I don't have my things on. Uh-oh. Oh my gosh, right in front of my face. Ah, I get that. It's been hard on you, huh? You felt sympathetic towards him. You didn't know what he was going through, but you cared about him. Cove said nothing else and remained sat where he was. Now would be a good time as any to ask him why his parents so suddenly wanted you to come over. Yeah. It's been awkward for just me. Sometimes it gets like this when no one else is around, but now you're here. Oh, so you're using me. Okay. Huh. You hadn't considered that, but it sort of made sense in a way. There was another shout from outside, too muffled to actually know the words, but you could imagine what they were. Let's go. Dun dun dun. Cole finally got up, lumbering away with his shoulders sagged. You followed after him. Together, the two of you made your way back to the living room. As expected, Cole's parents were politely waiting for you at the kitchen table. Beside the windows overlooking the back of the house, food had been prepared and sent. Mr. Holden beamed at you and Cove took your places. I hope everyone's hungry. I cooked up a feast. I know I am. Yeah. Cove's mumbled response wasn't nearly as upbeat as theirs. His parents didn't notice, or they pretended not to. Mr. Holden looked at you, grinning.
Thanks.
Let's all just take a moment to thank our special guests for being with us here tonight. I'm so glad you were able to make it, Chris, and on such short notice, too. You think Cole's parents back? You didn't say anything to that. What's up, Jessica? You just felt awkward about the situation. Yeah, but we're gonna be nice. I'm happy to be here. Thank you both for inviting me. Well, that's it, everybody. Dig in. You can help yourselves to the food. Upon his encouragement, you looked over the meal spread out in front of you. There was a large green salad in the center, surrounded by a variety of Mexican dishes. There were a lot of sides and optional sauces to be had. Oh, you can work with this. You didn't mind Mexican food. Mom loved it, so you ate it as family often. In a way, it made your first dinner at the Holden house feel a little bit more normal. Utensils and plates scraped and clinked together as the group began filling their plates. Cliff, could you pass the salsa verde?
Thanks.
Thank you. Let me just say, you really outdid yourself tonight. I'm so jealous. Jealous of what? Your cooking's nothing to sneeze at. Yo, they really trying to get back together. Cole's parents made small talk, filling the silence with what seemed to be barely any effort. You chimed in as well. Did it take you a long time to cook all of this? Oh, not at all. Sure, this is more than I usually make for me and Cove, but I enjoyed every second of it.
Aha.
Might have gone faster if you had some help, though. Cove's mom grumbled, but it was lighthearted. Mr. Holden chuckled and shook his head. Not this again. I make the rules here, and I say guests don't cook. Even when they're staying for literal weeks.
Come on.
Even then. What's up, Southern lady? Everything looks great, Dad. As always. Thanks, sport. Glad you think so. Cove smiled. It was genuine, even if it was strained at the corners. Brief silences interspersed the small talk. You piled some food on your plate, waiting for your turn if someone was serving themselves a dish that you had your eyes on. Once the food had been divided and things settled down, Cove's parents started talking again. Now then, you sat up in your seat when you noticed they were both looking at me. Oh, Jesus. How's everything been at your house? Are your moms well? Have you been keeping busy this summer? Why are you nosy? Or maybe you're just trying to take it easy during the break. Why are you so nosy? You felt overwhelmed. Yeah. You felt overwhelmed by the sudden rush of questions. You're more than happy to answer. You were surprised, but you didn't mind the interest. You felt uncomfortable with the attention. Like, I'm kind of overwhelmed. Like, why are you? But I guess I can answer. Sure, we're neighbors. I guess. I guess. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. Aha. I need my trusted tool. Cove's parents seemed honestly interested to hear from you. You were kind of flattered by the attention. You answered how things are at your house. You told them how your moms are doing. Yeah. They're the same as always. Work is a little stressful, but they said it's normal girl. So, woo! And nothing to worry about. You mentioned what you've done. I'm not sure where to start. I haven't really done much. You should know what I've been up to since so much has included your family. That was it. Can someone say info overboard? Chris can't keep up with everything you're throwing out. Mr. Holden. Yeah, that one's a little spicy. A little spicy. Did you know?
Nice work.
Aw. You brought up your own topic of conversation. Yeah. I also like other things.
Yeah.
I really don't. They look genuinely eager for you to keep talking, so you did. The rest of the dinner continued just like that with light combo. Eventually, all the dishes were pretty much gone.
Thanks.
Well, that was delicious. Thank you for your culinary creations, Cliff. Mr. Holden was like a flower, sucking up the rays of the sun. He beamed, flattered by the praise. You ate too much. You ate till you're satisfied. It had taken you some time to finish it all, but eventually you cleared your plate. Cove successfully kept his presence to a minimum. Oh, wow. Wow. Damn, Cove. But I mean, what do you expect? You didn't get much time to contemplate Cove's situation because your attention was taken by Mr. Holland pointedly clearing his voice. Not to sound like a broken record, but thanks for coming. I'm glad we finally got the chance to have you over for a real dinner. Okay.
What?
This is the first time Chris has had dinner over here? Why in the world haven't you invited them over sooner? Go was always the one going over to Chris's house until now. three of you looked in Cove in unison, his small sound being more than enough. Uh-oh.
I mean,
Would it be alright for Chris to stay over for the night? I'm staying over my boo's house? Like, what? Okay. If you're cool with that. Mr. Holden's shoulders stiffened. He sat up straighter, eyes darting back and forth between you and Cove. His mouth open, but not a peep came out. You've never seen Cove's dad say no to him before, but this was different than the usual quest. It wasn't so simple, and Mr. Holden was lost. Cove's mom reached out and took a hold of his shirt collar. She pulled him closer. She glanced at you before leaning in and bringing up a hand in front of their faces. The two adults whispered seriously to each other. Cove's eyes opened wider. He leaned forward, as if that would help him overhear his parents' conversation. Mr. Holden kept gesturing with his hands. Like Kyra made sure he didn't get too far away with all his movements. Every now and then, both of them would watch you and Cove out of the corner of their eyes. It didn't seem like they were fighting to you. They looked more like some kind of tiny sports team having a private huddle. After a bit, the group broke up. They moved back to sit properly in their chairs. You stuck a look at Cove. He stared at them expectantly. You were eager to hear their verdict too. Well, Kyra and I think they should be fine, but he lifted a finger dramatically, his brows raising as he met Cove's gaze, and then your own. We'll have to talk with Chris's parents to make sure they'd be comfortable with that. If they are, we can arrange for a sleepover to happen on a different night when everyone is more prepared. If Chris's folks don't like the idea, there's nothing we can do. Well, shit. He finished the mini speech with a wide shrug, using his full arms. He also checked out Kara from the corner of his eyes and gave her a crooked smile. She nodded approvingly and grinned back. You thought you saw her give them the thumbs up. But her hand was partially blocked from the table. They looked so pleased with themselves over the answer, but they just passed the actual decision on whether it was alright or not to someone else. Namely, your parents. If this was a sports game, they would have punted the ball away. Cove hugged his head deflated. He had been hoping you could stay over today, not some hypothetical time in the future. Um, I don't want to say that. Maybe I'll say that, because if I say that in front of your parents, they gonna hear you pouted about it too. Yeah, I'm a pout. Cove and you sulked as a set, neither able to muster the enthusiasm to find a bright side in the disappointment. He stared at his lap, an impressive frown on his lips. With that, dinner finally came to an end. Mr. Holden stood up from the table and began collecting empty plates. Cove was asked to help out, which he did with little fuss. Kyra landed a hand as well. However, Mr. Holden didn't let her. It seemed she was barred from cleaning as well as cooking. And you weren't allowed to chip in either, since you were there as the declared guest of honor. Although the meal was over, the night wasn't. It looked like you weren't going home just yet after all. You were asked to wait on the couch. While Cove and his dad were cleaning up the mess, Kyra disappeared down the hall after shooting you a wink. It was a bit strange sitting by yourself while everyone else had something to do. Luckily, you weren't alone for too long. After a couple minutes, Cove's mom returned with a deck of cards in hand. She strolled into the room confidently while shuffling. So, who's up for a few rounds? Cove and his dad looked over their shoulders at the question. They were mutually intrigued by the cards in her hands. She beamed at their expressions and stepped further into the living room, ignoring the couches, and she sat cross-legged on the floor by the coffee table. She turned to you and gestured at the space beside her, smiling invitingly. You accepted, followed her lead. The living room carpet was soft, though the hardwood floors underneath could definitely still be felt. Kyra did an overhand shuffle while she waited for the others to finish their tasks. The smile had yet to leave her lips.
Great.
This is going to be good. You were excited, you were nervous, you were bored, you were kind. You know what? You enjoyed her enthusiasm. Cove's mom was funny, upbeat, and easygoing. You leaned closer to watch her expertly shuffle the cards. It didn't take much longer for Cove and his dad to wrap things enough to call it good. Cove's dad appeared first, followed closely behind by Cove. Mr. Holden rubbed his hands together in anticipation. Excuse me. Oh, I'm ready. As he took a seat across from you on the floor, you noticed that Cove hadn't joined him. He went straight down the hall instead, without even saying a word. You stared on confused as he disappeared through his bedroom door. Cove's parents didn't look concerned at the stunt. Kyra nonchalantly split the deck of cards into two and rifled the halves together while offering an explanation of sorts. Cove doesn't keep his wallet with him when at home. He puts it away. Huh? Yeah, what? Cove quickly returned to the living room, a black wallet in his hands. He took a place at the foot of the table with the rest of you. You blinked as Cove unzipped his wallet. You all use real money on card games with family? While you sat there, your hands idle in your lap, the three shot looks at one another and sized each other up.
Yeah.
That's right, $5 per round per person. Winner takes all. What the fuck? Not go big or go home. Okay. Are you planning on kicking Chris to the curb, or do you intend on donating to the guest of honors pot, Mr. High Roller? Mr. Holden narrowed his eyes and leaned back against the side of the couch, completely at ease.
No worries.
If Chris wants to play, I'll fund their way in. Don't worry about that. What the hell? He rested an arm across the top of a knee that he propped up. Cove's dad was acting slick in a way you'd never seen before. You appreciated his offer. You joked that he shouldn't be so confident. You felt awkward. His surety. You know what? Yeah, are you sure? Adding me could be spelling your doom. I know that's right, me. Right you are, Chris. I hope you can back that attitude up. You know I can, Kyra. Ah! He said, you can let me play. Ooh, you can let me pay for Chris. They're my friends. Ooh. Mr. Holding grinned with a chuckle. All right, bud. I can see you're too polite for me. Well, you've got your ticket. Interested in throwing in. You glanced around. This seemed like serious business. In response to you consternation, Kyra softened her competitive smile. Don't worry too much. We'll probably just do some rounds of Go Fish tonight. No biggie. Y'all really gamblers? Wow. Wow. You joined in. I'd love to play. Mr. Holden gave you a big thumbs up, while Cove nodded firmly back. You were really good at Go Fish. You usually won when you play with your own family, to the point Elizabeth refused to play that game with you anymore. We'll play for how long everyone wants to keep going or until people start running out of cash but are still refusing to quit when they're behind. Not speaking for yourself. I'm fucking crying. With a laugh, Kyra nudged you. Then motioned towards the other two. Don't be fooled by their soft faces. These boys are shorts. Bitch, I wish I had some gum. I got a dry motherfucking mouth. In reaction to her words, Mr. Holden smirked and Cove's eyebrows became more angled. Kyra's phrasing made you think back to when you were young, specifically of Mr. Holden's favorite shark pants that he used to wear all the time. Perhaps they had benefit for him in ways you didn't know of. You could feel the tension in the air. Cove and his parents glued their eyes to one another, then all placed $5 bills in an empty space in front of them. Cove dropped an extra one for you, giving you a tiny smile after he'd say, "Okay, Cove." Once this was done, Kyra began dealing out the cards to everybody. It was time to begin. The first round came and went quickly, with the group getting into the groove of things. You won right away, which meant you had money to keep playing the second round. You goddamn right I am, bitch. You better keep those wits about you for the next round. As the night went on, so did the games. Mr. Holden would jokingly shake his fist whenever someone other than him got a pair. Kyra acted as a news anchor, reporting on every move everyone made by speaking into her curled fist. Cove was still up a few words, but now it was because he was focused on the game instead of being overcome with awkwardness. Most of the time you even spotted a smile on his lips. You won quite a few games to your delay. You had a hefty money pile on your side of the table. I know this, right, bitch? You must regret paying Chris's way in now, huh? No way. Thank you, Cove. Chris might be beating me, but they're also beating you too. Cove turned towards you and smiled, looking pleased at your ability to match his mom and dad. You grinned at him, touched by his speedy comeback. It became clear that where the money went in the moment didn't really matter. They ended up giving it back to one another in other ways, not just through more rounds of cards. You sat back looking over the scene, a tiny smile grew on your face. Cole's family was pretty cool, you thought. You were glad you got this chance to come over to spend time with the three of them. What's up, Juby? Oh my god, that's the end of the episode? Oh, alright. Let's do the road trip. I'm so upset. Even though you're awake, the sun had barely peeked its head above the horizon, and the sky above was still dark, though lightening by the minute. Usually you wouldn't be up so early, especially during summer vacation, but today was different. Today, oh no, this is a video game. Today, instead of the lazy days you were used to, everything around you was a flurry of activity, as both your family and Co's prepared for what lay ahead. Oh my god, we're going on a trip together? Because parked in the street just outside your home was a massive RV camper, so big you couldn't even see Cove's house behind it. His parents had rented an RV for a few days to take him on a short trip up to see Redwood National Park. You glanced at Cove, who was standing nearby taking in the scene. The prospect of the trip had to be a mixed bag for him, but it was only 3 days, so it seemed he was dealing with it as best he could. Especially now that you and your family were joining. Oh, okay. You weren't sure how exactly it happened. You knew your parents and Cove spoke to each other often, and somewhere along the way plans were made after Cliff offered to share the space. The parents all thought it was a fantastic idea. You had already gotten a good look inside while helping to load everything in. You had to admit that while it was a really big car, Fitting that many people inside was going to be snug.
Let's go.
It's going to be tight. Ooh, move it or lose it. Mom bustled past with a cooler in one hand and a large bottle of water under the other. She was upbeat for this early in the morning. Ma, however, seemed to be on the other side of the wavelength. She followed behind her wife, dragging her feet on every step. I'm going to need a whole jug of coffee once we hit the road. I know that's right. You can relate to I was late too early. Personally, you felt like you were in the middle ground. Yeah, fuck it, let's do both. You tried to keep up and took in some deep breaths. There was still a little damp from dew, but you hadn't minded. And then at the end of the chain came your sister. She had her bones so big before the trip started. Her rattling off critiques added some level of normalcy to everything new going on. I don't get why I can't sleep in the bed tonight. Chris is the youngest, and I'll never fall asleep in that loft. We're trying to make things fair on everyone. If you want to play the older card, you should be offering to take the loft both nights. It's important for big siblings to make sacrifices for their younger ones. Ooh! Elizabeth huffed. What's up, Buffies? Elizabeth huffed, not happy with that answer in the slightest, and folded her arms, leaning back against the side of the RV. The trip plans had been nailed down prior. The sleeping arrangements included. Elizabeth still held on to her objections with them. There was a main area of the RV with a couch, loft, and some floor space. At the end of the car was a room with a large bed. Your moms were sharing the bed, Kyra was on the couch, and father and son intended to sleep on the floor. What the fuck? Huh? The adults determined you and Elizabeth would switch between the small loft above the driver's seat and sharing a bed with moms. You were fine with the arrangement. You were excited to Yeah, I do think it's unfair you had to sleep on the floor. Damn. There had to be another way to organize things so it was better for him. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
No, no, no.
Okay, Mom. She said nope. The last thing we need is one of you rolling off and crushing poor Cliff beneath you. Who will take over his driving shifts? The other three parents laughed at your mom's joke. Alright. You finally caught Cove's eye and he gave you a tiny smile before shrugging. With a sigh, you had to admit defeat. Alright, you lot, does everybody have everything they need? We're heading out in 5 minutes. Now's the time to double check. You don't want to forget something important. After that, at that word, Elizabeth yelped and dashed back into the house, her bedhead hair bouncing behind her as she went. Ma came over and gave you a smile, setting her hands on her hips. How about you? Do you have all your clothes packed, toiletries, deodorant, floss, anything else you can think of? I feel like I might have everything, but let's go back inside. I grabbed my toothbrush from beside the sink. You were glad you were reminded to grab it after having left it out to use this morning. It would have been embarrassing if you couldn't brush your teeth for the next few days. Your mom was still there, waiting with a knowing expression as you walked out again. Got everything now? Yeah. With a few minutes left to spare before leaving, you mentally went over what you had packed for the trip. Clothes, a pillow, blanket, usual day-to-day gear for most people. also had more personal things such as ooh, what are we doing? A portable gaming console. Yup. Yup. Yes. My camera. Yes. Yes. A ball. A couple things to read. Maybe. Pencils and paper? Sure, why not? Sure, why not? I am an artist. Okay. Fuck it, let's get some music. Yup. And I think that's it. Fuck it. A couple things to read. Yeah. And that was everything. Hey, let me take that for you, Chris. I'll stow it in the RV. There's a few spots left. It'll fit. With nothing left to do, you watch the others getting ready for the trip. Kyra and Cliff seemed to have the most energy of everyone. They were finishing packing the suitcases away while your moms had gone to lock up the house. What's up, Morgan? Hey, boo. They high-fived whenever another one got crammed into the storage compartments of the vehicle. Even though your parents were more low-key than Coves, you could tell they were both excited for the trip. It had been a while since your family had been anywhere together. Elizabeth skipped towards the RV, a bag slung over her shoulders, and you were surprised to see she seemed more optimistic about the whole ordeal now. Usually she wasn't the one to exit the confines of her room, unless it was TV or food, or to leave her family behind to be with friends. You would have thought 3 whole days packed in an RV with 6 others would be too much for her, but it was a nice surprise. You supposed any vacation was better than no vacation in her mind. Cove had been pretty quiet so far, and more than anything, you seemed to be overwhelmed by the situation. What's up, Michelle? You were excited for the trip. You weren't excited for the trip. You were eager. Yeah, I bet it is. What? You were eager to get to the destination. You were curious about the IRV. You didn't feel much either way. You didn't feel, yeah, I don't feel much either way. It was your parents' idea to go on this trip, and the way you saw it, you didn't have much choice in the matter. So, the miscellaneous remaining tasks have been all wrapped up. Ooh, look at your RV. Everyone piled into the RV. It was officially time for the trip to start. And it did. Cliff took the first shift driving. He cautiously navigated the massive car out of the narrow neighborhood and streets. It was touch and go for the first part of this journey. Your moms and Kyra were all huddled in the front, trying to get a view of how much space they had on each side. There was a sense of relief when the first long leg of the trip was hit and the RV would only need to go down one stretch of highway for miles. The mom group cleared out of the driver's area, leaving Cove's dad to it, taking more comfortable seats around the main cabin. You felt like you could finally relax now too. Time slipped by as morning faded away. Before you realized it, the engine of the RV came to a stop, but only halted for a few moments as Cliff climbed out of the driver's seat and Mom took over. Mom was sitting shotgun, giving Mom a quick tutorial of the controls, as it was her first time driving anything this large. Cliff groaned as he headed towards the rest of you, stretching his arms above his head, loosening his muscles. We're making good progress. Yeah, maybe you should take a nap in the back for a while. That was a long haul you did, and I know you're on less sleep than usual. Cliff waves his hand, the trademark grin of his slipping into faith. I don't need sleep. I've still got a few miles in the old tank. He flexed an arm, showing off his muscles. Let me move my face. Let's come over here. Hey, how are you, DDH? How are you? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Yeah. Dad, everybody has to sleep. Coach shook his head at the tough guy act. Though Cliff simply chuckled and ruffled his son's hair.
So,
Oh, Lord. Are you going to be driving again anytime soon, Mr. Holden? I want to know so I can prepare. Did anyone pack some rope? Ah, she's rude. She's rude. Did anyone pack some rope? I might need it. There's no seatbelts up here. You are so foul. So foul, so foul. Oh my goodness. My thing didn't fucking move. Okay, here we go. Where are we? Where are we? Elizabeth called down from where she was, lounging in the loft above the driving compartments. She was laying on her back, her hair falling over the side and swinging around as RV started up again and took off down the road. A bag of potato chips was balanced on her stomach as she tossed a couple in her mouth as Cliff held a hand to his chest, pretending to be offended by the remark. Kyra laughed lightheartedly.
don't worry about
Lucky for all of us, we have enough adults to cover the shifts today. He won't be driving again until tomorrow. You stay quiet, you shook your head, that's a relief. Just time to wrap up my last will and testament. We shouldn't gang on. Up, blah, blah, blah. It's not his driving I'm worried about. Let's do this one. Ha, not you too. The rest of the group laughed while Cliff pouted, and you gave him an apologetic shrug. Mom then shouted back in her seat to join into the conversation, a playful smile tilting her lips. What I'm more worried about is this old monster getting us there and back before falling apart. Goddamn. It looks as though it was built in the early 90s. It must be older than some of the boxes. That's rude. That's rude. She said, I think. I'm crying. Did you ask what year the model was before you rented it? Kyra wrinkled her nose and thought,
Hey,
yeah, I did. I just can't remember what the answer was. Cliff chuckled at her while the rest of you let out a collective sigh. The RV lurched a little as it picked up speed, and you held onto the ladder to the loft to keep your balance. You felt something graze the top of your head before a weight settled on your black hair. When you tilted your chin up to carefully look, you heard the rustling of a bag of chips and realized Elizabeth had rested the end of it on your head. She gestured to the opening, silently offering to share her snack. Yeah, we took a handful. Reaching up, you scooped up some chips after the weight of the packet left your scalp. You happily munched away as the conversation continued on and you got closer and closer to your destination. The day flew by with a group of you chatting, playing games, and passing the time together before finally arriving at the park and setting up for the night. Ma was closing the windows while everyone got ready for bed, saying goodnight to the others as she made her way to the back room. You had all had dinner together while still driving, and some hours after you had arrived at your destination and found a spot to park for the rest of your stay. Giving a look across the RV, you noticed almost everyone there was already dozing off where they were, with Cove having completely fallen asleep curled in the passenger seat. Aww. He must have done so while Kira was driving the last leg and they decided not to disturb him. Kyra herself was the only one up there who was still awake, so flipping through a magazine next to a portable light. See, Mr. Holden needed to sleep despite his claims. You followed your mom into the back room and closed the doors behind you before crawling onto the bed between